talk show, whatever you want to call this. It's Emil Amok's Takeout. I'm your host, Emil Amok. My takes on all things considerable. We just go left and right. It's like, and you take it out. You can eat it at home. It's sort of like issues and answers with DoorDash thrown in there. Welcome to the program. What a week, and what a news week. I thought we'd be talking about this thing that we're gonna talk about it. It's like further down the show, but I guess it's a good thing for either Ron DeSantis and Gavin Newsom that we're not talking about that terrible debate last night. I mean, how can you be Gavin Newsom and be terrible and still win? That says something about the state of American politics. But he was okay. He was better than DeSantis and in dancing in enemy territory. Well, we'll talk about that later. So many other news things to get to. But first, I'm going to talk about Kissinger because I did a column on the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. And I want to talk about that, talk about Kissinger. Rest in peace? No rest in peace for Henry Kissinger. And then I'll bring up my good friend who usually is on Fridays, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University. But first, I want to talk about this thing I'm emceeing on the weekend, on Saturday, at the Rockridge Library in Oakland. I mean, if you're in California, and if you're in the neck of the woods, the Bay Area, Northern California, Penn Oakland. Poets, essayists, novelists, Penn, International Penn, big organization. They have chapters in the United States. Penn Oakland is its own force, and they have their own awards. And on Saturday, the 2nd, tomorrow, this is a Friday show, tomorrow on Saturday, Penn Oakland will announce the winners of the 34th annual Josephine Miles Awards for Excellence. And it's important because if you know Penn Oakland, it doesn't kowtow to the East. It doesn't kowtow to the establishment. Penn Oakland is a chapter of Penn that in its Josephine Miles Awards honors writers for outstanding literary achievement from the entire spectrum of America's diverse literary community, which is not insignificant. The Oakland Penn Awards started 34 years ago. Ishmael Reed, of course, the preeminent Bay Area, but specifically Oakland-based writer, helped found Penn Oakland. So Saturday between 2 and 5 p.m., it's free, December 2nd, Rockridge Library in Oakland. I'll be emceeing the awards ceremony. I can't mention the winners yet. I mean, they'll be announced there, but I can say the people who will be there. People like Cheryl Fabio, right? She's a documentary filmmaker. Michael Young, Justin DeMong, Elisa Serio, Tennessee Reed, Ishmael Reed. A lot of people will be there. So come by, celebrate the writing by humans. I wrote a piece in the Oakland Post talking about how, it's funny, all this AI stuff happened last week, like we were at a crossroads, and it looks like we are going faster to that doomsday point than we may care to. But one thing that can be said about the Penn Oakland Awards, we are awarding writing that is written by humans. That is something. Penn Oakland Awards, Rockridge Library, 2 p.m., 2 to 5. There will be food. It's free. Honor the great literary diversity well, it's not just Northern California. Penn Oakland is Northern California based, but we're talking about honoring the diverse American landscape, literary landscape. Tennessee Reed, Oakland poet. She'll be introducing the winners, as will some other folks. So I can't say I am honor bound to not tell you who has won a Josephine Miles Award. It's sort of like The Bachelor, you know. I can't tell you. And by the way, did you see that last night? The Golden Bachelor? I guess that's good if you're older and you're widowed or widower. There's a second chance for love. If you're happily married, there's a second chance. No, there is no second chance. There's just the first chance, which is good. Oh, I've been married 35 years. It's good. All right. Rockridge Library, Penn Oakland, the Josephine Miles Awards. I'll be emceeing. It should be a fun event. It's free. There'll be food. Ishmael Reed will be there. Tennessee Reed will be there. It will be I think it'll be a fun time. It's intended to be a fun celebratory time, celebrating the arts and culture. Oakland Public Library, Rockridge, the Rockridge branch. You know where that is, right? Do I have to dig down deep into my 5366 College Avenue, the Rockridge branch? Free and open to the public. I love Rockridge. That's where I had my business. Anyway, I want to talk about Henry Kissinger, because if you go to my ALDEF column at aldef.org/blog, I wrote about Kissinger. I wrote about him, and I said these words. I said, Asian Americans can be blunt about Henry Kissinger. He carpet bombed Cambodia. He napalmed the hell out of Vietnam, or that he should be pilloried for extending rather than praised for ending. But in a depraved warmongering world, it got him a Nobel Peace Prize. AAPIs who survived Kissinger's dastardly deeds were able to seek refuge in America, the consolation for having our homelands bombed and destroyed. And that's the positive spin on the man who warranted an obit with the headline, Henry Kissinger, war criminal, beloved by America's ruling class, finally dies. That was Rolling Stone's headline. And in my column, I go on to talk about AI. How is it not astonishing to know that even at 100, Henry Kissinger was fascinated by AI? Because here's a guy who knows a thing or two about doomsday scenarios, and the thought that he would be fascinated by a machine being more diabolical than a human, a robot catching up to the evil of a Henry Kissinger. That kind of astonishing to me. Maybe he was jealous. Maybe he was envious. Because after all, at age 100, we found out that the real Henry Kissinger, the real deal, a monstrous human being, was just human after all. And what we learned about the death of Henry Kissinger is that even the worst of us die. But AI lives on. The prospects of true existential dread lives on. So I wrote that. That's the top part of my column in the ALDEF blog. And some Bangladeshis took issue with me, say, hey, don't forget us, Emil. You're talking about Asian, and I was remiss in not pointing out that, yes, the Bangladeshis were totally screwed by Kissinger and his foreign policies. And we have a large Bangladeshi population here in America, about 200,000, most of whom are in New York. And I know this because I have, out of 10 times I've taken cabs, this is just my informal survey. Out of 10 cabs I take in New York, I would say 6 of them are Bangladeshi cab drivers. And they're of a generation now that includes the generation that was screwed over by Kissinger. And they're here now in America, and they are so proud of their offspring that are now in America. And they're lawyers, they're professionals, they're part of the great Asian American community, the AAPI community. So I want to apologize to my Bangladeshi brothers and sisters because, yes, in fact, you were screwed by Henry Kissinger. That's just a fact, right? And Washington Post wrote about it today. I mean, Henry Kissinger, they called it realpolitik diplomacy, right? Genocides, massacres, rape and torture on a huge scale. And part of what we must remember is that the work of Henry Kissinger is what has given us what we have today. You know, you talk about Cambodia, right? I talked about the carpet bombing of Cambodia. 540,000 tons of bombs in what was known as Operation Menu, which Kissinger and President Nixon pursued without the backing or knowledge of Congress in an effort to destroy the Khmer Rouge. Imagine that. Talk about secret. U.S. was not at war at Cambodia, but Kissinger felt that had to be done to prevent the Khmer Rouge from supporting the communist North Vietnamese army. And then that fissure led to an 8-year civil war between the Cambodian government and the genocidal Khmer Rouge, led by Pol Pot. The war killed an estimated 275 to 300,000 people, displaced millions, destroyed a fifth of the country. Massive bombing campaign in Cambodia. They had declassified transcripts of telephone conversations when Kissinger spoke to Nixon about the situation in Cambodia. And the relay to Deputy Alexander Haig was, he wants a massive bombing campaign in Cambodia. It's an order. It's to be done. Anything that flies or anything that moves, you got that. I mean, that's Henry Kissinger. And then as far as Bangladesh, the Bangladesh, I mean, because you'll hear about Chile, you'll hear about Argentina. How about the East Timors, the Timorese? Kissinger and Gerald Ford, who was president, met with Indonesian dictator Suharto, December 75, gave him the green light to invade East Timor, sparking a civil war that left as many as 200,000 people dead. And this was according to declassified documents in 2001. Kissinger told Suharto, quote, "It is important that whatever you do succeeds quickly." This is the man who should rest in peace, Henry Kissinger? No, I don't think so. So we talked about Chile and Argentina, or that's what people will talk about mostly. The Bangladeshis. When war broke out in what was then known as East Pakistan in 1970, Kissinger and Nixon backed the military government of West Pakistan in its genocide in what would become Bangladesh. At the time, East Pakistan was a key U.S. ally in the struggle against the Soviet Union and communist-leaning India. As the war spread and India became involved, the White House opted to back the slaughter by illegally transferring military hardware to the East Pakistan government. And independent researchers put the death toll at between 300,000 and 500,000 people, while the Bangladeshi officials placed it as high as 5 million. So you want to talk about the blood on the hands of Kissinger. This is Asian blood, Asian American ancestors in Bangladesh, which is now Bangladesh. It was, as I said, West Pakistan. I mean, those numbers indicate, is that enough to be a genocide? After Kissinger's death, Bangladesh's foreign minister, A.K. Abdul Momen, condemned Kissinger's role in violating quote, all American laws, international laws to support Pakistani military junta, and also supplied weapons to illegally occupying forces of Pakistan. So, forgive me, my Bangladeshi brothers and sisters, for being remiss and not including Bangladesh in my little summary on my ALDEF column, because it is significant. Let me bring up Professor Emeritus Daniel Phil Gonzalez, College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University. We'll talk about all the other things, but Dan, welcome to the program. I want to talk about Kissinger. I mean, there's a guy who should not rest in peace, huh?
Definitely not. Definitely not. I was in undergrad at the time of the Vietnam War, and there was a continuous argument going on between Zbigniew Brzezinski and Mr. Kissinger all throughout that period. And uh, I studied both of them very closely and aligned myself for the most part with Brzezinski. His analysis was much more complete and much less ideological,
Mm.
as well as much less politically biased. Kissinger got credited with being brilliant. Everybody kept on saying he was a genius. He became uh, the equivalent of a Hollywood celebrity
Yeah. I mean, that was
for
strange.
several years.
It was so strange.
Yeah, I mean, he got invited to the best stuff, everywhere for free. Made millions of dollars as a speaker, and I don't. I think he didn't deserve that. He was a criminal. He was definitely a war criminal. I was in a. I think it was 1971. Right, was the Cambodia
Mm.
incursion, and everybody was lined up outside. This was in the days before when everything was done on ticker tape, and you got dot matrix printout sheets from the State Department, and there were things up on the board outside in newsprint, and everybody was looking for the Cambodia incursion because there was no explanation of how that
Yeah.
happened. All we knew was that there were several B-52 sorties over the Vietnam border into Cambodia, right? And strategically, I knew why they were doing that, and that's because the Vietnamese had supply lines and pathways right across the other side of the Vietnam border in Cambodia, and they would move up and down relatively freely, north south, and so it made sense from a strictly military point of view that happened, but nobody could understand who gave the
Well,
order. Everybody, who gave the
Dan,
order?
it was all secret, right?
Yeah, it
I mean,
was.
from Vietnam to Cambodia to Bangladesh. I mean, all these things were had to be declassified. I mean, the documents that confirmed Kissinger's involvement and his messages to and from the military, CIA, and whatnot. It all had to be declassified, and years
And he
after,
didn't admit it. He did not admit it until it was declassified.
right? And this is the thing about you see where the world is now. Well, who are the architects of the world as it is now?
Well, we've had several conversations about many other issues and I keep going all the way back to the 50s and 60s, and so do you. I mean,
Yeah,
and we talk about all of the politics that occurred at the time, and the people who were in lower positions in government that had not yet held elected office that came through that process and then became the next incremental movement to the right in American society. And so there was always this problem in
yeah,
American society. When I talk about the irony, right, of the Republican Party going after the FBI and the DOJ and the CIA. All of those institutions used to be heavily persecutive and prosecutive of the left. And they were doing that forever in American society. It was always the left that was under attack. But now that the right has gone so far in its activities to warrant in not only investigation but arrest and prosecution, now they're against the FBI. But all the way up until recently, right? They were absolutely for quote law and order. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, this whole thing, Kissinger, Nixon, these are the neocons, right?
Yes,
This is the forebears of the neocon vision of diplomacy, secret,
yeah,
and
yeah,
war, heavily artilleried,
yep.
bombed the hell out of people. And, later it was revealed that when they bombed Cambodia, most of that was it was empty. They just destroyed the countryside. Most of the people had left, but they destroyed the country for anything in the future. I mean,
That actually ended up enabling the Khmer Rouge.
Yeah.
And Pol
Yeah.
Pot.
Yeah.
Right?
And
which would become even a worse problem than Vietnam in many ways.
Right. And to enable Pol Pot, I think there's no doubt Pol Pot was the mastermind of genocide. So the genocide of the overall, the overall genocide was really enabled, started by Kissinger.
And it was who he was killing.
Right.
And who he was recruiting to do the killing. He was recruiting Cambodian youth to be murderers, mass murderers of the upper 1/3 of society.
See,
professors, business people, teachers, anybody who, if you sang opera, you were dead. Anything Western, right?
Yeah, any cultural. Yeah, the thing is, I don't think there's anyone who would dispute. I mean, a lot of times people throw around the word genocide, like, "Oh, is that really genocide?"
Yeah, right.
The Uyghurs or the Palestinians, Israel. They all right now, right? They're always tossing the term genocide. So even someone like Noam Chomsky says, genocide is meaningless. But I don't think anyone would ever say what Pol Pot did in Cambodia was not genocide. There's no one who says, "Oh, I don't think that's genocide." No one would ever say that.
Right.
And who triggered that off?
Yep.
Henry Kissinger.
Yep.
So I mean, this is the thing in my column.
Without Congress, and without Congress and without Nixon.
It was just.
I think it was. It's shocking, right? It's shocking to think that a guy. Well, that's what you get for giving him two hats, right?
Yeah.
He was NSA as well as Secretary of State.
Only one.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, he's the only one to ever hold those two positions, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, simultaneously.
And this is, this is. You want to know why the world is screwed up the way it is. Well, Henry Kissinger had a part.
You're freaking half a generation younger than me, right? Yeah. But we end up being on the same page on so many of these issues, and people are going to listen to what we say, and particularly what I say, and say, he's just an old son of a bitch.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
the fact of the matter is, this doesn't get discussed.
Yeah.
People don't talk about this. I ask in my classes, I ask professors in political science, right? In history, they do a little bit better job, but they don't analyze it from a political perspective as heavily enough. And so poli-sci, those profs need to get off their butts.
Well,
this stuff.
Dan, this is how Henry Kissinger gets a free pass. This is how.
Worse than a free pass. He got a friggin'. He was. He got awards like crazy.
I mean, people see Henry Kissinger, and I was in Washington when Nixon died, and I was surprised that people were trying to be nice with Nixon, who now would not be considered the worst president. He was bad, but now he's been surpassed, I think.
As bad as the people on the left and the center might think he was, he did several really good things. His détentes, right?
And he started
with China. All that stuff was good stuff. I mean,
he started the EPA. I mean, look,
he did not get rid of civil rights.
Yeah.
You know, the right again in the Republican Party.
So
Uh,
I'm just bringing Nixon up because I was there in Washington and people were trying to be nice to Nixon. And right now, I think it's almost impossible when Nixon's cohort, Kissinger, dies. I think it's impossible not to just raise up the fact and say, hey, you know, Kissinger, RIP. No, no RIP, Henry Kissinger, because
well, you can the P can become something else.
yeah, he upset the
Just
peace.
not peace.
Yeah, he disrupted. He was secretive. He was undemocratic, and it's just sad that now we have to get all this information
Oh,
in retrospect.
there was massive ironies. I mean, even as he was speaking in 71, 72, uh, people would say, yeah, his family escaped from Nazi Germany, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and then and then
yeah.
and then when you listen to some of the structures that he wanted to influence in American society, it's like, man, this guy is leaning way right and towards authoritarianism, right? And
Well,
what did Nixon say even after he was out of office? Okay, after he escaped punishment by resigning. What did he
yeah,
say? He said in his famous interview, right, with the Brit. What
mhm,
did he say? If the president does it, it's not illegal,
yeah.
right?
Well, it's funny you use the term authoritarianism, which struck me because we are now thinking about authoritarianism in our present day, but
We are
this,
living under it right
this,
now.
this was a secret authoritarianism under Nixon and Kissinger.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people were calling the regime fascist at the time.
Yeah.
You know, even Oliphant, right, the great political cartoonist,
Oh yeah.
did a whole series of cartoons depicting the Nixon administration and a lot of state governors, you know, as fascist. And so back then, people rejected it as a bunch of leftist rhetoric.
So
But while they were not true fascists, they were certainly inclined in that direction, and
yeah.
people refused to see it. People refused for all of these years to refuse. They have refused to see the diseased element in American society that's rooted on the right.
See, this
They
is
kept
the
on
thing.
looking at the left,
Yeah.
and frankly, the left kept giving them good reason to put the
Well,
blame
yeah,
on us.
but this is the thing, Dan, that kind of bothers me a little bit. That all of this was under our nose. We could
Yes,
see it. I mean,
yes,
it was revealed.
yes.
it was it was declassified,
Well,
and
but once
still.
again, you have I have more of an academic perspective on it, but
Mm,
you actually had congressional experience, man.
yeah,
You were in the midst of it. You were
yeah,
in D.C. at the time. You
yeah.
know, I was only there on occasion, right? And I wasn't there, and I was doing some lefty stuff, right? I was not there having to observe the actual workings
Well,
of the institutions.
yeah, but you know what it shows? It shows how bad the funnel to information to the public
Absolutely,
is. And Lawrence O'Donnell was on. I talked about the other day. He was on MSNBC because Trump made some comment. He wanted to take down MSNBC in
yeah,
private.
that's right.
He wanted to take down Lawrence and get him kicked out of his job. And he said, in normal times, this would be a headline when someone goes after a major network and someone goes after First Amendment rights, and we don't hear anything because we are inured to this bombastic rhetoric from
Right.
someone like Donald Trump, and it's almost like and Lawrence O'Donnell's bottom line was, hey, don't rely on TV news, don't rely on people in the news media to give you what you need to know. And this is something that's not new. In the 90s, they talked about, the press is on bended knee to the White House, to mainstream
Sure. Yeah.
sources. The only way you're going to hear about this kind of stuff is in the democratization of the media, like on shows like this, on stations like Pacifica, and on.
You know, that's what I was hoping for when I was encouraging students to become BECA, you know, broadcast
Mhm.
majors,
Yeah,
because the expansion via cable and satellite was very promising. But I made the rather naive assumption. Once again, it's hard to accept that at 40 and 50 years old back then, I was
Mhm.
still naive.
All
But
right, or
but
still, I'm still naive, thinking that
well, I
things are
think
going to change.
there's a thin line between idealism and naivete, right? So I believe I don't think you're naive. I think you're an idealist.
Well,
Back
yeah,
then,
maybe, but
I should have known better.
yeah,
But I was helping students, get through those majors,
mm,
and I was I see them now, and a couple of them are working for local video TV units, news units, and all that.
yeah,
And I see them at certain events, and it's always fun, right? They always come over and joke. They are mostly guys, and so the
yeah,
jokes are a little salty.
yeah.
But
Well,
but but
it,
man, not that many of them have made it. But not
yeah.
that many of them have gotten gainful employment because of the way the media has disappointed.
Well, it's hard on a lot of different respects, and the fact that they have either hit the gatekeepers or hit a glass
Yep,
ceiling.
that's right.
It's because, look, if you don't hire people who have different perspectives, you're not going to get different perspectives represented in the medium that they're not hired for, right? You're going to get if they're hiring bland, you're going to get bland viewpoints.
Yeah. Well,
If
well, it seems as though all of these entities, even when they're coming up as starters, right? They're not interested in doing that. They're not interested in
oh
doing
yeah,
broad scope journalism. They're interested, or real journalism. They're interested in getting sponsors.
yeah.
You
Well,
know.
they're interested in, people. This is the medium that you're. Or the media is what it is, and when you're trying to get a job, you got to do their thing. It's probably one of the reasons why I'm not on mainstream like I used to when I was younger.
I just
I,
never. I always believed that, but I never. I never had the heart to tell you.
well, I always felt that you could do more when you were paid less. You can do more and say the truth,
Yeah,
say
it
more of
wasn't
the
just
truth.
about the money though. It was about the principle, and
Yeah.
there's
Well,
certain things, you
you could
know.
you could try in the mainstream, but
Oh, I'm sure I could have gotten canned,
yeah,
at least 5 times in my career as a professor. But the thing is, I learned how to do things stealthily. That's
yeah.
one of
Well,
the things
he-
you
here's the
you didn't have that luxury, you
well
know.
here's the thing. Here's the thing that Lawrence O'Donnell said in his show the other day that really struck me when he was talking about Trump's bombast. He said, and I've said this too. You're going to have to do it yourself. We're in a do it yourself
Yep,
democracy, and you're going to have
yep.
to go to the equivalent of a Home Depot, Democracy Depot, get your own nails and 2x4s and start building something to attack or
The problem is folks are really lazy. When I especially when it comes to politics, the farthest reach is people who say, I don't really follow politics because it's not important. It's not significant to me in my life.
yeah,
And I said, your every breath you take
yeah.
is if
Oh
affected in
yeah.
some way or another,
On the
right, by
on the
politics.
inhale and on the exhale.
Yes,
It's all
everything.
politics.
Your entire body is immersed in a political process. Your mind is completely encased, right, in a political
Yeah,
process.
that is,
And so, if by your saying it's really not important to you, you're just, why don't you just take a big yellow brush with yellow paint on it and paint on your forehead a V,
yeah.
and that stands for not victory but victim.
Victim. Well, no, here's the thing. They're not necessarily victims. There's a new phrase I notice people using a lot now these days. I don't like it, but I hear it, and I guess that's where we're at. They say, "Oh, those are low information voters." They say,
Oh
"Low
shit!
information voters,
Oh god!
LIVs." You know,
That is
and
so. That is so.
if
Oh
you are an
God! I,
LIV,
I am hoping that was started by somebody from journalism and not by an academic,
no,
because but it sounds like it started with an academic,
I
man.
started
You
hearing
know,
that the other day when people were.
it doesn't sound like polling.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah. Yeah. When
polling and
people were talking about
it's
the polls, they
yeah.
said, "Oh,
It's
Well,
political scientists and
yeah,
sociologists that do
yeah.
polling, right? So,
These are low information voters.
oh
They don't need
God.
much. They don't need much. And that's why we have this disconnect between, oh, the economy's doing well, but people think that they aren't doing well. Hey, we're not doing so well, but we're
Yeah,
spending $9 billion.
it's an understatement. It's an
Yeah,
understatement. The worst people are not just low information,
yeah.
right? They're absolute bad
Bad
information
information
voters,
voters.
right? They they are. It's not
Yeah,
informative. It is political rhetoric and bombast. And guess what? What is that called?
showbiz. I that would that's American democracy. American democracy is showbiz though, because people.
It's propaganda.
Oh,
Propaganda. I
propaganda.
have to deal with a
Oh yeah,
Filipino
it
accent.
is
Yeah,
propaganda, but people want that kind of
they
showbiz
absolutely do.
because
They absolutely do.
how else
I
would you
was
explain?
listening to a podcast with Frank Flaguzli, the former FBI,
Yeah, I mean, really,
administrator.
how else would you explain why Trump is so high up in the Republican
Well,
polls?
what Figluzzi said was really simple. He said, "I'm out there. I'm talking to people every day. I'm out there talking to, trying to help people understand the reality of what's going on and how present the threat of sliding towards authoritarianism is right now, and that the next election is going to determine that." And then I say, "Is this what you want?" And he describes people, the military in the streets,
Yeah,
controlling people's behavior, and he says, "People want
yeah,
that." They actually say it in my face. They want that.
yeah.
And so I said, finally, somebody's saying the stuff that I was saying 40 years ago,
No.
right?
No, it's sad, and yet they'll say we want freedom, but they'll accept a little bit of fascism when it's against other people, right? And this is the thing: it's
Yeah,
freedom for me, but not
yeah,
for thee, and that
yeah.
is
Well, well,
that.
but it's already affected women's
Yeah,
gonads,
yeah,
So, their
yeah.
uteruses,
Well,
their
exactly.
bodies, their health.
So
It's already done that, and so, but they want to talk about protecting freedoms. How much more personal,
yeah.
can you get?
All right,
You know,
Dan.
I-
Dan,
yeah.
I want to. All right, so let's put a cap on Kissinger here. He's a bad guy. He should not rest in peace. He's responsible for
Yeah.
everything we see
Is
that's
that a
bad.
cap or a prophylactic?
Yeah,
I don't, yeah, he doesn't need a
yeah,
prophylactic because he's
yeah.
dead, right?
We
Okay.
he is. Look, he is the authoritarian. He's like,
He was. Remember, he was seen as a lover boy
oh
too.
yeah,
Remember?
yeah. He went to
Remember they
Hollywood.
gave him credit for being hot
Yeah,
stuff,
he would
man. He
go.
was banging models.
I think he would go on Laugh In, right? And say, "Suck it
That's
to me,
right.
suck it to me." And then that would
Talk
be
it
a.
to
It's
me.
kind of funny,
Oh
but
God.
I just think, look, good riddance, Henry Kissinger, war criminal. I love the Rolling Stone headline. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's strong.
that I mean
That is
that
strong.
was how blunt can you
You
be?
just made me want to re-up my
And,
subscription.
yeah, and Asian Americans can be so blunt because we Asian Americans, Cambodians, Vietnamese, Bangladeshis, East Timorese, we all
Well,
our answer.
don't leave out the
Oh,
Philippines. I mean,
yeah.
the declaration of martial law happened during that same
Right.
period, right?
Okay.
In
I
72.
don't mean to leave out the Philippines, but in terms of it happened around the same time.
Now you're gonna get mail, but it's
That's
good.
good. It's good. Look,
Any mail is good
this
mail.
is America. This is how America got to where we are today. All right. So a cap on Kissinger, but now we were
Thank you.
talking about, Kissinger is probably the prehistoric authoritarian in America, right? The secret authoritarian, right? Because now it's Trump trying to pull it out of secrecy so that all can see. And something happened today with another historic vote. I didn't know if I really wanted to talk about the George Santos vote, but it's important because only the third time since the Civil War, the sixth time ever, someone has
Ever,
been
yeah, in the history of
expelled
war, yeah.
from Congress. And for what? And finally, people are saying, oh, he lied. He did all these things that are against the law. And instead of giving a pass to like Congress,
Which they have been
yeah,
doing. I mean, this is the third time
yeah.
around, right?
But
So
instead of giving a pass to people like as they have been doing to Trump, right? Instead of saying, "Oh, it's not good."
how about Bobert? how
Oh,
about
oh,
Gates?
all of them.
How
All of them.
about
Yeah.
Greenwood? You know,
Finally, they come down on Santos, which I think is both good and bad. It shows a little bit of integrity, but I mean, as it is, I mean, they
no,
tried. They tried in the last.
no.
They tried in the last minute.
Maybe from the Democrats it might show integrity. I even doubt
They look.
that, man. I mean,
The
it's obviously political
well,
motive. I mean, you whittle away, and their majority becomes, pretty soon it's going to be down to a majority of
yeah,
one. You
but
know,
the Republicans tried at the last minute to see if they could save him. They couldn't. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. But
yeah,
here's the thing.
yeah. But did you hear the rationale for why they wanted to save him?
Well, I didn't.
What they're saying?
Well,
They're saying, well, we haven't seen
oh
enough.
yeah.
He's not been convicted,
Well,
right?
that was kind of the Democratic rationale too. Democratic rationale
Yeah.
was
Yes, it
that
was.
they said, well, we want to. We don't want to set a precedent. We want to see the voters kick him out,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
voters
but
probably
why
would.
were they doing that? What, were they really interested in fairness and due process, or were they worried about a certain senator whose name starts with an M and is out of New Jersey?
Oh yeah. Well, they have to worry about Menendez because it'll be tit for tat, and they'll go after
Mhm.
Menendez, and
Yeah,
then it's
yeah,
all
yeah.
politics again. All right.
Oh, I wasn't going to mention his name. I was just going to say,
Well, consider this.
let the audience figure out who the hell that
Well,
is.
it caught me. I said, "Oh, the M." Let's see who's no Menendez.
Okay, I can't give you more. It ends with a
Yeah,
Z.
yeah, not McGovern. It wasn't McGovern.
Oh
He's
no,
long
that's
gone.
right. That's right.
Nixon era, though. All right, so here,
Yeah.
as long as we're talking about names, this is important because, and this part of me wanted to throw a little, not shade, but sympathy toward Santos because look, his name is Santos. He's a person of color. He's also an LGBTQ. He also, because we know, because of his only.
Yeah, we don't know for sure if he's LGBTQ. That's what he says, and he lies about everything.
Well, that's true, but I see him covered in the DC Metro Weekly, which is the gay paper out there. But I don't think
Okay. Well,
they.
that could mean that they've been,
Well,
they've been hornswoggled.
well, I don't think they're not pro Santos. But here's
Just
the thing.
because he dresses a little loud. He
Well,
dresses a little loud.
not loud. He was. Here's the thing about George Santos. He was a luxury fop, meaning he would go to
Yeah,
all these
yeah,
Hermes
yeah,
and he
yeah.
would get all the high end stuff. That's why he had to go into the well, allegedly went into the till.
Didn't the term "fop" come from observations about the French aristocracy?
Well,
They're being
he
overdressed
is.
and effeminized.
He's a striver. He's a striver. And here's the thing I don't like about dumping on Santos too much, because he will now forever be known as there'll be the George Santos factor. He will be the stereotype for lying, allegedly thieving politicians, and it's a person of color who is in the minority and.
Well, no, we can fix that. We can fix that because if we win in enough seats in 2024, we can go after Perry. We can go after Comer.
Oh,
You
go
know,
after all
we can go.
the non
I mean,
BIPOC.
and then McCarthy. I don't even know if he's going to be in Congress anymore. Our own Kev
Yeah,
from Southern California or
Santa.
Central California,
Yeah,
actually.
from
So then he could be
Bakersfield.
prosecuted. Yeah, he could be prosecuted,
Yeah,
man.
well,
So
that's true.
this is good stuff.
This is the thing. The stereotype was played, and the Congress went after the brown guy and not
Yep,
the
yeah,
white
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
That's the thing that hurts me a little bit because I see that played out. He was not the nicest guy. He did not build bridges. He was not deserving of sympathy. But in looking back, and people will leave out details, and they'll say, "Oh, well, here's a brown guy who didn't belong."
Yeah, but what about all of the African Americans that are Trumpers? I mean, that are in Congress.
Yeah,
The men
yeah, yeah.
and yeah,
Well, I
that are
mean,
Trumpers.
I just,
How do you rationalize that? I mean, they're also bringing a lot of disrepute, to people of color.
yeah. Well, they are because it's almost like they're blinded by the past and say, "I'm just dealing with the now. I'm just dealing with like that." Um, I saw a picture.
Scott,
I saw a
Scott,
picture of an African American, the guy from Florida who was up for speaker, one of the low,
Oh yeah.
I forget his name,
Oh, Florida produced. Yeah, I forgot his name
but
too.
he was
They
standing.
produced so many great people, though. I
But
mean,
wait, he was standing right next to Santos, and uh,
you mean recently?
yeah, he's
Okay.
very conservative. I mean, one of the shots before Santos left, as Santos was saying goodbye, he was shaking everyone's hand except this African American from Florida, Republican,
Okay.
who was like a low-lying speaker nominee, and it just seemed like. See, here's the thing with about Santos. He has those tendencies. He's now saying, "I'm going to out everybody. Watch out! I'm going to tell all." I,
I hope he
he,
does. I hope he does.
well,
It'll be really fun.
he needs to,
It'll be
he
fun.
needs
You know, he's going to get
yeah,
a
he
book
needs a book
offer.
deal
Yeah,
to pay his
that's right.
legal fee.
He's got to get a book offer.
He's got it.
Yeah.
He's going.
You think Ishmael might, feature him or?
Oh, I don't know. I just don't, I think everyone wanted Santos out, and that's the thing. But there's going to be a crowd that says, "Okay," because he's you thought he burned bridges before. He's going to burn everything down now. I-
Oh yeah.
In a
Oh
book,
yeah.
he's got. I don't
I
know.
hope so. I hope
Forget
so.
about Liz Cheney, because Liz Cheney got some stuff on the inside, but I'm sure Santos was taking notes, so he'll take some conservatives down with him, and maybe he'll help the Democrats. So that's
Yeah, yeah, but he said very little. Cheney really understands the system.
yeah.
Okay, uh, and he never talked as though he understood the system whatsoever. I mean, he didn't talk in structural terms at all.
Santos.
He was too busy talking about himself. A whole lot like the probable nominee for the Republican Party.
It,
I mean, the closest he got to saying something structural is, "I'm going to wipe out the
yeah.
FBI and I'm going to wipe out the court.
Hey,
We're going to, get rid of the
yeah.
DOJ. We're going to get rid of education, Secretary of Education, that whole department, that stuff." So,
Well,
you know,
Santos, look, you start off as a freshman, and you're junior. You're down at the bottom. You have no. But this is why when people like AOC,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the other progressives, when they got up there, they really made a mark as freshmen. And I'm just worried now about what happens if they're so branded as progressives. Do they keep that brand?
Well, they're branded as radical,
Yeah, the brand is the left, and that's
extreme left.
extreme left.
They're
Yeah,
they're they're branded as extreme left, radical,
and
and anti-American.
and that's the thing that is hurting politics because people say, "Oh, you're gonna provide us with the divide." Oh, great, we'll divide the country. Basically, you've set the division. You're extreme, and you know, and the conservatives are conservatives, and they ostracize these people. I know it does not look good. We should segue to the debate, but I don't want to talk about the debate yet. I want to talk about another person's passing, Sandra Day O'Connor, and she died today, Alzheimer's. I mean, the thing about Sandra Day O'Connor is I don't. I mean, I know she was she wasn't really an ideologue. She was more pragmatist, and she was willing to stand up for affirmative. She kept affirmative action alive when she upheld Grutter in 2003
And
and
choice
Choice.
and choice.
Yeah, and I like when I think of O'Connor, I think of her when she wrote the opinion on Grutter. She said, "We expect that 25 years from now, the use of racial preferences will no longer be necessary to further
Oh yeah.
interests
Hmm.
approved today." And of course, when she wrote that in 2003, that means we should have had at least a few more years to 2028. But the conservatives, who, you know, they didn't like affirmative action, they ended it last year, or or this year rather. So 2023.
Yeah. Well, once again, one of the reasons that she upheld affirmative action was because it was so obvious
Yeah.
that all kinds of biases worked against, women, LGBTQQ, even though those terms only lesbian and gay existed at the time, and or were in common use at the time. Um, and it was so obvious that they were suffering from those kinds of all kinds of multilateral forms of discrimination and rejection that you had to maintain it, and other justices went along with that decision.
Yeah, that's funny though. Other justices did, but no one was as principled as she was. Even those on the court who were beneficiaries of
Oh,
affirmative
oh
action.
well,
I
oh
mean,
no.
here's
Are you
Sandra Day
you're
O'Connor.
gonna be talking about black people on the court?
Well,
Wait, wait, black men on the court? Is that what you're gonna talk about?
here was Sandra Day O'Connor, who she had the guts to say, "Look, I was a beneficiary." She knew she was. I mean, when she broke the barrier as a female in the courts, they were calling everyone brothers, right?
Right, right.
The
Well,
brethren.
she needed what was up to other people to say is she needed the benefit of affirmative action. And the reason she needed it was the same reason that most women who entered the field of law all the way up until the 70s, right, and 80s experienced, and they still experience it now,
Yeah,
was discrimination. She couldn't get a job. I mean, she had a hard time getting a job.
right.
She got into freaking Stanford for undergrad. At 16 years old, man.
Yeah,
I mean, coming out of high school, she went to law school there as well.
I
And some of the people on the California Supreme Court that were among the best justices we've ever had came out of Stanford,
yeah.
right?
Well, she also
Because of my job, my dad's
yeah,
job, right? He was a custodian
yeah,
there. I knew those people,
yeah.
and I really appreciated their perspective, their intelligence, and everything else.
Well,
I mean,
she dated Rehnquist apparently at Stanford. Yeah,
you
that's I heard that in a report. And but for the most part, the reports have been very respectful, saying she was a pragmatist. She wasn't an
yeah.
ideologue. She grew up in a ranch. She was smart, smarter than most, and she upheld. Whenever I think of Sandra Day O'Connor, she upholds the rights of minorities. In a pinch, she will uphold the rights of minorities. So
Yeah, well, dating Rehnquist, he changed when he took on the responsibility.
yeah, well,
I
yeah,
have a constitutional law book, and I drew things
yeah,
next to Rehnquist's name on some of the decisions where he was the person who spoke for the
yeah.
majority, right? And every once in a while, they were symbols of the Reich.
Well, yeah, the right, yeah, yeah,
Because he was so extreme when he was in that majority. However, when he became Chief Justice, he really became a moderator,
yeah.
and surprised the hell out of
You know,
me.
it,
He started. He was better than
yeah,
Roberts. You know.
yeah, I'd say, but it's the role. Once you're in a different role, you can't be the individual in the corner, throwing gasoline and lighting the matches. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
suddenly you are, you know, in charge of this
yeah, yeah.
august body, and then the institutionalist in you has to come out and say,
Well, yeah,
I
yeah,
honor
and
this. I honor.
yeah,
They
yeah.
never let me into the institution except the mental one. But that's my problem. Hey, so all right. So Sandra Day O'Connor,
Day
she can
O'Connor,
rest in peace.
good job. She did a good job.
She can rest in
She
peace.
did. She was honest. She was honest, and straightforward. And she, by today's standards, she looks not only like a centrist or a moderate. She would be criticized as a
Yeah,
liberal.
I know she would
You
be
know?
considered liberal compared to the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
next to people like uh, Bobert and all those
Well,
folks.
how about just other people on the court
Oh
right
yeah, just
now?
other people on the
You
court.
know,
We don't have to dip below. Yeah,
Alito.
yeah,
We don't have to beat up on the black guy all the
yeah.
time, right? I mean,
Alito.
you got Sam Alito is in the same cloth.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so a lot of people are dying. We had Kissinger, we have Sandra Day O'Connor, we had Rosalind Carter the other day, and she
Yeah, and
buried.
like the good news is look the hell how old they
Yeah,
are. I mean, we got to look at their prescription and say, you know, we eat healthy, especially you,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
and we do yoga.
Yeah. I mean, it's important. The thing about Rosalind, she was first lady, but she was a leader. She led by example, and
She was the real politician.
yeah,
She was actually a better politician than
the,
than the president of the United
Jimmy,
States.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'd say this. I would say that I had a good fortune of meeting the Carters at Sunday school in Plains because my daughter worked down there in that part of Georgia. Went to visit her, and the only thing to do in Plains was, hey, Jimmy Carter's teaching Sunday school. I got to go to that, and we went. We went a couple of Sundays. It was It was fantastic just to hear the president, and then of course we got a photo op. You can go to my ALDEF column, ALDEF blog, aaldef.org/blog. Rosalind Carter almost made me think that it would be a good idea for a Filipino to buy a peanut stand at the Plains gift shop. I thought I could do this. I liked Plains. It was nice and
uh,
I thought
yeah, I mean, I'm sure your daughter was embarrassed enough at your behavior.
no,
So
no, no. She was older at the time, and I just thought Plains was a charming little community, and I think I had too many Billy beers. I think that was too
I
many
was
Billy.
going to ask.
Anyway, so Rosalind Carter, she was nice to my family. She gave some time to talk to my daughter and to talk to me, and I don't exactly remember what she said, but she was so kind
Oh,
and
that's
generous.
terrible. You did have too many
She
beers.
was
Yeah.
generous with her time, and that was the important thing. Now, we were supposed to have you on to talk about Native American, the Indigenous Peoples Day. And
Yeah, yeah.
I read all this stuff about Indigenous people because, man, the amount of stuff that we don't know about Indigenous people, so very important.
And,
And
yeah.
one of the things that Jimmy Carter had on, he had on this turquoise sort of like a pendant, and I have an Indian, uh, a buffalo Indian nickel pendant, and I took it out. And I'm not wearing it now, but it just it's important when you. It just made me realize how little I understand and know about the Native Americans, and I was all prepared to feel bad that day when you were supposed to come on. I even read uh, the the big Native American history book. Ned, Professor Ned of Yale. Do you know that guy?
Yeah, yeah. I've never read it.
Yeah, he's got a new book coming out. Um, but Ned Blackhawk. He has an old book, A History of Native America, but he has a new book coming out in February, and so he talks about how the Native Americans got screwed, and that first Native American history, where he talks about the sky, the women coming from the sky, and how they met the Native American men in the real world, and they were saved by the tortoises, and she gave birth to a daughter who gave birth to twins. I mean, these origin stories, really fascinating, I thought. But we'll have to talk about that at some point because the Native American story is neglected and often left out. So
Well, they've only had this is the beginning of their second generation of recognized quote academics,
yeah,
right, doing the writing, and the first Native American studies program at a even at a secondary level university like SF State was in our College of Ethnic Studies. Well, it was a School of Ethnic Studies at the time. Um, and one of the long-term chairs of the department is still very much with us and living in uh, Daly City, Westlake, actually, I
yeah,
think, in that area. I see her every once in a
yeah.
while.
One of the things that gets me is
Betty Parent is her name.
what's your name?
She's, Betty Parent,
Oh
Parent.
oh yeah, I've seen her.
She's from Alaska.
Yeah, I what gets me is how many Native Americans were in the continental U.S. There was like, there are millions,
Yeah, yeah,
or was it? Yeah, I mean, millions of people, and
yeah, yeah.
the extermination from 1492 on. I don't think that is drilled into our head uh,
Right,
enough. How
right.
there was a
Are you talking about the Americas when you're talking about indigenous people, or are you talking about just North America?
well, north and south.
Yeah, yeah. Well, then, yeah, definitely
Yeah,
millions. Yeah.
yeah. But in North America, what 300,000, 300 million?
No, never 300 million.
So,
You know, it's hard to count. I don't know who's got a good. I don't even know what Blackhawk says was the total population.
but it's just astonishing when you see how it's a number that you don't realize. It was like every fifth person was, uh, you know, I mean, there was a large number of native peoples, and now it's just a fraction. You know,
Oh yeah,
we don't talk about them. They don't show up in polls. So when we talk about, you know, whites say this, blacks say this, Latinos say this, we don't even get to Asian Americans because there's not enough in the poll. And then Indian Americans, they don't they they don't show up. So
yeah, that's right.
it's so sad. And I think when I was reading Ned Blackhawk's work um, around Indigenous Peoples Day, it just astonished me how how sad it is that we know so little. And in California, they teach Native American history in elementary school. If you're lucky, you'll get it there. But I don't think you get it anywhere else.
The this American history when you study the founding of the United States, right,
Yeah,
and the pre-U.S. Colonization that was going on. You remember they mentioned the Iroquois, right,
right.
and the longhouses and how that contributed to the development of the American notion of Congress rather than Parliament, all that kind of stuff. Uh, that the longhouses were seen as a precursor to the Senate, that kind of thing,
Mm,
right? Um, so it was mentioned, and then you get of course Pocahontas, Sacagawea,
right.
and then it moves on to the Indian Wars. And what people don't know is that the Philippines was affected by the Indian Wars because the U.S. actually uh, exiled uh, Indians to the Philippines. They exiled
Oh,
Native
I
Americans to
didn't
the
know that. I
Philippines.
knew that they sent the Buffalo Soldiers.
Oh yeah, well they're African
Yeah,
American though. Yeah,
but they exiled the Indians to the Philippines.
yeah, yeah,
What year?
yeah. There was groups of them. My memory serves is Geronimo.
Wow, that's
But
interesting. I'd never heard that. But this is one of the things. I mean, there's a lot of history to be unearthed that people don't know about. Anyway, I mentioned that because that was one of the days you left, or you couldn't make it, and I wanted to talk about, uh, and we'll talk about it another time. But there's one more thing I want to get into, and that is the debate between DeSantis and Newsom last night on Fox. First of all, what a sham that was. It wasn't the best possible debate, as one Republican tried to claim last night. It was a sham. It was people talking over each other, calling each other bullies. It was, DeSantis would not let, Gavin Newsom say anything in the first segment. That was not a direct talk over. There was just no civility. It was just terrible. And if this is red state, blue state dialogue, it was sad. It was a sad display. In fact, the facts that were handpicked by Hannity, who said, "Oh, I'm not going to be the hallmonder. I'm not going to be conservative. I'm going to be a moderator. He was none. He was none of that. I've moderated debates. Uh, Hannity steered that debate, steered the facts, was really more than slightly biased to DeSantis, and I think that even though Newsom did not, to me, he wasn't the strongest he could be, but he still was able to beat DeSantis. I mean, if there was a winner, I'd say Newsom still won, even though he probably was at half his strength.
Yeah, yeah. Now, what I didn't like about it, besides Hannity being the guy who was supposed to be moderating it,
Yeah.
what I didn't like about it was in terms of Newsom's performance, was that he got into the shouting thing,
Oh yeah,
and that was just that's bad news. You don't have to do that.
yeah,
Um, you can. I would have made an appeal to Hannity to get their boy to shut the hell up,
yeah,
and then just argue your point safely. But he was trying to show. We used to call those. Well, I'll use the cleaner word, penis contest, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, I saw someone uh, in Politico give a body language analysis, and it said that DeSantis has a hard time giving a full smile, so he ends up being less trustworthy and awkward, and that the thing that Gavin Newsom wins with, and this is all subconscious, right? He's got a smile on his face, and he dismissed some of the attacks that DeSantis threw at him as just ridiculous and off the point. And really, the facts that they're, to try to pit this on or base this debate on, oh, look, California must be a terrible state because more people are leaving California than, leaving Florida. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, but they're about to leave Florida now.
oh yeah, I would
You know,
look this.
look what happened with
Yeah,
Texas. Look at all of the people that migrated to Texas. And I was saying to folks that said, "Yeah, we're moving to Texas," and I'd say, "Hey, have fun trying to accept the culture, the overall culture, and the contrast in attitudes,
yeah.
just basic social
Oh
attitudes."
yeah. Look, I lived in Texas for 4 years. I got to like it a little bit, but there's a reason I didn't stay there, and I didn't stay there because I wasn't from there. I was reminded I wasn't from there
Yeah, on a regular
on a regular
basis.
basis, and also it's a right to work state. These right to work states don't pay their workers well. Now, in some instances,
I
maybe.
think we should make people understand that right to work means it's
Yeah,
anti-union.
right, true.
And if it's anti-union, it means that people don't have bargaining power, and therefore wages are low, and
Wages.
the ability to get, even as an individual,
Yeah,
right, a fair wage is nearly
I
impossible.
mean, I left Texas and came to California, a union state, went to a union job and almost tripled my salary. I mean,
Yeah, well,
that's just the way it is because right to work state, take it or leave it. I was appalled. I'm in like huge cities like Dallas, Houston, and they were paying people on television peanuts and proud of it
yep,
because they can get away with it. And
yep.
some people did
There
well.
are a lot of former newscasters from Texas that are all up and down the West
Oh
Coast.
yeah,
They're
oh
they're
yeah, of
they're in
course.
stations all up and down the West
Of
Coast.
course, and I think that if you have leverage, you can command that. But like I said, this is just one of the things about Texas that I ultimately I said you can find your group wherever. There's some good people in Texas, but and even now there's some good people, but they're the way Texas is going, the way Florida is going, and the way the climate change issue is going.
Yep,
Uh,
there you
you know,
go. Florida is going to be this little skinny strip
well,
within our lifetimes, man.
oh,
I mean, if we get another 15 years out of this,
yeah.
within our lifetimes, Florida is going to be this little teeny strip, and it might even get bifurcated.
Yeah,
No, east west because of the Okefenokee, right?
yeah. I mean, the things that will happen because of what we've done to the climate, um,
Yep,
and, and even in California. I mean, forget about
yep,
the earthquake. Earthquake, yeah, that's always in the back of our minds if you live in California for as long as we have. But there are other things that are coming down: water shortage, heat,
yep.
power, uh, energy. And you look at where the heat is going in the Southwest. Oh, it may Arizona, Nevada,
Yeah,
could be
I
unlivable.
think
Texas,
it feels
unlivable.
like years ago at this point, but we both made references to the Colorado
Yeah,
and how it's really getting dried up because two states and part of Mexico
yeah.
depend on the Colorado River. So
It's like I said, it's I don't know, Texas, Florida. Anyway, I think people will be leaving. Like you said, people will be leaving Florida after that debate. Although some people in the Republican Party, and if you were a Fox viewer, you said, "Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful thing, DeSantis."
yeah, just go there. Go to Texas. Go to Florida. Live your
Yeah,
life. Right. Okay. I'm fine with people leaving
yeah.
California.
Well, I
Okay.
know more parking spaces for us, but it's true though. You go there to Florida, there's some nice things. I mean, if you like the beaches, I mean, the Atlantic beaches are nicer, the Gulf beaches are warmer, but you got to deal with the hurricanes. You don't have to worry. There's no hurricane coming to Mendocino. No hurricanes coming to
They're gonna have a fish problem.
Uh,
So
well, I mean, I'm
yeah.
not saying that California is devoid of any climate issues. No, we got plenty of climate issues too. But here's the thing: the government is a little more responsive generally than the governments.
Well, and that's exactly what DeSantis was attacking.
Yeah,
He was attacking the way that California politicians respond. And one of the legitimate attacks was, even though the way that he attacked us was not legit,
yeah.
was they have decriminalized, right, theft, right, and that's almost true, right, because there are a lot of soft on minor crime. Politics that have occurred over the last 10 years
You're talking about the legislature here or there?
here.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it is kind of sad.
That was DeSantis' criticism, right? That they've got crime coming out of their
Yeah.
every orifice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I'm surprised. Although I see this in New York too. When people mention that, toothpaste is locked up behind, like it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like 12-year single malt scotch. You want to buy a brand of toothpaste and you go to a Target store or Target in New York and it's under lock and key, and same thing
yeah.
here, right? I mean, the retail outlets, I don't know how we solve that, but that's part of being in America.
They have a new. It kind of looks like a huge. Remember automats?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
And I always wonder what happened to those. But anyway,
It's not New
automats.
York.
Yeah, yeah. But there was at least one. I thought there was one in Westgate.
Oh, well, I can
But
see. So that
but that's many years ago. But anyway, it's not in business now, as far as I know. But the point is, they've got it. They've got these little mini automat wall systems.
yeah. Oh, frozen.
You stick in your card.
I see.
Yeah, where you just
Oh, you're cool.
in essence, yeah, and that gets you past the security, and it dispenses whatever it is you want to get.
Yeah, the automat is kind of cool in that. All right, it's like a post office box.
Yeah, yeah,
It has your thing that you want, like toothpaste or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And then you go and you buy it, and then yeah, I get it's a sad day in retail though when it's
Well, all that, yeah, sure it is, but it stops people from being able to just lift it and split.
yeah. Well,
It's a security issue. I mean, do we want people getting killed?
yeah,
Because either way, right? Either the security people or the thief, right? Getting
yeah.
killed over a bottle of booze or whatever it is they're stealing. I mean, it's worth it just to prevent that, right?
But it's a sad day when it's not just the big items that are under lock and key. Like you go to a Bevmo and you want, some high price alcohol and it's under lock and key. Okay, I understand that. I don't buy it. If it's under lock and key, I won't buy the 12-year. I won't buy anything. I don't drink at all. But when I did, but now it's all these little tiny things
It's
like
everything. Yeah,
toothpaste and it's like ridiculous.
yeah.
It's
It
like
is.
everything.
It is.
And so, and that's, and then, and it spoiled the retail experience. No wonder the malls are going under. There's malls can't exist because people will do the smash and grab.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, I kind of like the fact that malls are kind of
are dying.
losing. Yeah, I never dug them in the first place. Look what mall culture has done
Uh,
to kids
but
and adolescents,
exactly,
right? Suburban adolescents, right?
but, but that's what we need. We need a place that is a center. If we're going to dump on malls or end them, we need a place where people can go and
and interact.
socialize and
Yeah,
interact. Yeah.
yeah.
A public square. Where is the public square? Where is the place? Is it a library? Is it a place where you can go play chess?
You know what? It used to be schools and schoolyards.
Oh yeah,
Are
yeah,
you old enough to remember that? It was, and it,
yeah,
and it was and it was libraries.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, and the downtown library still does an excellent job of providing space
yeah,
for legit organizations, even political groups
yeah, yeah,
can reserve space in the downtown library, and they've got excellent facilities there.
yeah.
So
Well, I just think that it's man, we need
it's not
we need
just
something.
it would be fine if they had other cultural activities going on there that were ongoing projects that, as you put it, serve the community. You know,
Yeah, it just needs to be more than commerce.
that's
It
right.
just
There
needs to
you
be
go.
we can go and we can for one of the first times that I visited New York, I never got around to Bryant Park, which is right there by the library. I don't know why I've missed it. It's just right there, but I found it because Whole Foods was right to it, and I wanted to go to Whole Foods, and they got a nice Whole Foods. They have a nice bathroom there, and because it's hard to find a public bathroom in New York City,
Right.
but I, went there to Whole Foods, and then right across is Bryant Park, a nice little park, a place to just go and sit down. And if you buy a sandwich at Whole Foods, you can eat it there. You can, sit down. It's it was a public space, and we need those kind of places. Otherwise, I think we're just living a kind of nouveau post-pandemic life. You know, uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I agree. I think that's an excellent point.
Well, I mean, here we are. We're talking on Zoom, which is cool. Well, a Zoom version. We're talking virtually, which is cool. I get to see you, but I haven't seen you. I mean, I see
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
but we have,
Well,
it's.
it's because you live so far over there.
Oh no, 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 no! It's because okay, but no, but the thing is, but no, we'll rectify that. But the thing is, this has become the new thing. I mean, and it's nice if friends in New York, friends in Florida, friends in
I see this medium as it's not what I would prefer,
yeah,
okay, but it is the next best thing. So if it allows you to do this, I've always been doing oral history interviews, right?
yeah,
And I would do more of these kinds of things using Zoom or something like Zoom, Google or Restream to do those, if I could depend on the quality on the other end.
yeah. I
That's
guess
the
that's
problem.
the hard thing. You want to, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
problem.
but it's.
Even though you're in your closet, you look good.
Oh,
You
thank you,
know?
thank you, thank
Yeah,
you. Well, I just think that this is the future. You know, I think. I mean, we were living it, and then we got tired of it. But some of the lessons we learned from the pandemic. Some of those skills are still handy if you want to
yeah,
reach out and and not touch someone. Can't touch you.
Yeah.
Can't shake your hand, but that's all right. I can find the emoji. Um, so anyway, all right. So the
Well, I
DeSantis.
think the Smell-O-Vision project is
Oh, smell.
that's
Well,
still alive. That's
all right.
still
I'll send.
alive. So yeah.
So the DeSantis Newsom debate didn't solve anything. Are
Nah,
they?
man, and
Are they
I
the
don't think
future?
I don't think it hurt Newsom,
Yeah.
and I don't think it helped DeSantis.
Well, and
You
that's
know,
a good thing.
yeah,
But you're right. I don't think it hurt Newsom. Newsom just needs to. He needs to let his name be known by to all the other folks out there. I mean, he really promoted Biden at every chance, which is what he is expected to do. But the Republicans like to say, "Oh, there he is. There's Newsom. He's going to run in 2024," which is,
oh,
that's what.
there was one person, I can't remember which channel it was. It was probably uh,
Fox.
local. It was probably KTVU, but
Oh,
they had commentary afterwards, and they had four people on the panel, and two of them at least were professors, and one of them is Professor Taylor from USF. I know him personally, but African American, and he was very heated and animated about his criticism of Newsom because he essentially was interfering with what the vice president should be doing. And he was really hot about it. He said, after Biden as the president of the United States and the leader of the Democratic Party, it is the vice president that carries the torch, and this guy is blocking and
well,
disrupting that
th-
process.
that
And there's some legitimacy to that.
that is true, and I thought about that also because the vice president Kamala Harris was in that deal book session that the
Yeah, yeah.
Times had, and she was not treated well. I thought by the audience at Deal Book, and even though she gave some good answers, about Biden, his age, and and she did what a vice president should be, but if there's anyone talking about the campaign, it should be her. And I just think that I think what's going on is you're seeing what happens when you have the two top Democrats from California, Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom, kind of butting heads. The former attorney general, the former senator with the former governor. And I don't hear you, Dan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. My video is out of sync with my voice,
Oh, I see. All right. Well, look,
so my head is moving in ways, and my mouth is moving in ways that are inconsistent with my voice.
now watch out. It could be an improvement. But look, that must be our cue to say,
No, but I'm afraid people would question, what orifice is he talking out
yeah.
of? I mean,
Well, look, it looks like your orifices are working, but this is a cue that we must say goodbye. So look, Dan, I appreciate you coming on. We'll talk about how I divorced.
glad to be here. I'm sorry I missed the other two sessions, but too much stuff.
That's all right.
There
No,
was too
no,
much stuff going
we'll
on.
talk again. Always fun to have you here with me. Thank you for your insights, especially on Kissinger. Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, Professor Emeritus, San Francisco State College of Ethnic Studies, San Francisco State University, a dear friend of the show, and just insightful, especially on Kissinger and all the other stuff we talked about. That's it for today. I'll repeat this show. I'll put it on the ALDEF blog as well because you need to know about what's going on with, read my ALDEF blog and then I'll mention the Bangladeshis up top here. And then hopefully all will be right with the world. All right, we're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific live. I do this thing, Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. Thank you for being with me. Watch it on YouTube at Emil Amok 1. That's my Emil Amok 1. That's my secret podcast because we don't put it on the regular podcast things. We might this one. This one we might. Also catch it on Facebook, fb.com/emilguillermo.media. Also on Twitter at Emil Amok, Twitter at EMILAMOK. And yeah. So, and catch us tomorrow. If you are watching this and you're in Northern California, the Rock Ridge Library, 2 p.m. Pacific time, I will be emceeing the Josephine Miles Awards from Penn Oakland. Penn Oakland, the 34th Josephine Miles Awards, honoring the full diversity of the literary landscape in America. Penn Oakland, called the Blue Collar Pen. Penn, of course, stands for poets, essayists, and novelists. Penn Oakland is sort of the, shall I say, a renegade bunch? It's a legitimate pen. It's not International Pen. It's not the U.S. Pen or Penn America. It's Oakland Pen. Oakland's Pen. And proud to be associated with them. Proud to be part of the award ceremony tomorrow. Catch it 2 p.m. Pacific, Rock Ridge Library in Rock Ridge, Oakland, California, the 5300 block there on College Ave. And that's it. That's it for our show. We like to end with a little meditation because loving kindness makes the world go round. Start with yourself. Loving kindness toward yourself and then toward others. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Mahal